Hi, this is Roger. Thanks for dropping by. It's been a funny old week. I get to the end of Sunday, and it's heading that way now, but not there yet. I can normally think about the week that's to come and virtually list everything that's going to happen. Not necessarily in the order, but these are the things that will happen this week. And this week just gone, there were lots of things not on the list, including some rather strange things and some things I'd rather not happen again. So for those of you who only tune in on the Sunday, we'll do a catch-up. The big deal during the week was a safety issue, basically. My boiler started making a funny noise. On startup, after it had been running a while, it seemed okay, but over the days it was progressively getting worse. And on this particular day, it was making quite a loud noise, and my carbon monoxide alarm went off. Now this is serious stuff. And I've never lived in a house with alarms before, so first of all I didn't know what carbon monoxide was, apart from the fact that it kills people, the silent killer and all that. So I was in a quandary. What do? Do I grab the cat, get in the car and go somewhere? You know, what do? How bad is this? So basically I took the somebody thought this was highly amusing. I got the phalaenopsis off the kitchen windowsill and brought them out into the grow room. Yeah, that's it, save the plants. No, it was because the obvious thing was to open the kitchen window and ventilate the room, which I couldn't do with the phalaenopsis on the windowsill. So they came out here, we opened the window wide, shut the kitchen door round, went into the lounge with Mojo and shut the lounge door. So I'm now away from any possible fumes, the best I can do. Get on the internet. Now, before you start, you should not be relying on the internet for things that could be life-threatening. That's not the best way to go. However, as a start point, it's not bad, providing you don't necessarily rely on it. But it did come up with something that was not obvious to me, but was worth a try. This was, having ventilated the room, if there was a build-up of fumes, this is internet stuff, if there was a build-up of fumes enough to set the alarm off, at the point the alarm goes off, it's not that bad. Yeah, you haven't filled the room. The stuff has a general tendency to head upwards towards the ceiling, which is where the alarm is. Yeah, so it hasn't filled the room to the point where you take a breath and collapse on the floor, especially with the window wide open. So it suggested, if it's a battery operated alarm, first of all you get the dumb people trying to get views on their video on YouTube by, you know, being ultra dramatic and sounding as though they're going to save your life, when in actual fact they're guessing and they don't really know what they're talking about. These people suggested the batteries were flat. Well, if the batteries were flat, why is the alarm going off flat out? What would be powering it if the batteries were flat? Duh! So we disregarded that pretty quickly, and basically it said if it's battery operated, it will just lift off the wall, take it out in the garden, turn it off, leave it for 10 minutes, waggle it around in the fresh air and turn it back on. If the alarm comes on, the unit is faulty. That's what happened. Yeah, so I'm now 90% certain that my alarm was faulty. You know, they have a lifespan, you know, and it looked pretty ancient as well. The museum were after it when I'd finished with it, you know, it's quite old. And anyway, we then contacted the agent, because I can't do stuff here, I can't, you know. So I contacted the agent, explained what had happened. They said, we'll get somebody round and we'll do a proper safety check on your boiler to make sure there's no emissions or anything coming out. That happened the following day. The guy came round, he was great, did a proper check and everything. And I'd ordered a new alarm by then, And while he was here, he was just packing his stuff up, and there was a little knock at the door, and my alarm had just been delivered. So I brought it in. I said, I got a new alarm. He said, I'll give that here, I'll fit that for you. So he checked it all over, put the batteries in, fitted it on the wall for me, tested it, and then showed me how to test it. So that was the boiler saga. As I said, I have no experience of alarms or anything like that before. So yeah, a little bit fraught and a trifle worrying going to bed that night, but again, doors shut and window wide open. Boy, was it cold when I came down in the morning, because I had to go in the kitchen to make me coffee. Ugh, it's been cold. Anyway, so that was that saga. And then the other thing that wouldn't have been on the list of a normal week was rearranging the grow room. Now I was expecting that to take an awful lot longer than it did. The only thing that took a really long time was when I moved my workbench out from its corner to where it is now. In behind there was absolutely filthy. The glass was covered in mould and everything. It was a mess. So the first thing I had to do was clean all that up. Now that was stuff I wasn't expecting to do. You know, getting down, cleaning floors and stuff was not on the list, but it had to be done. So the day one, I managed to get some done, and then day two, I started moving the shelves around, and I got halfway through and I thought, my back's okay, I'm not tired, and that didn't take long, so we did the other half. So we moved all the shelves round in day two, got them. I'm happy that the shelves are now where I want them for now. I say for now because in the not too distant future the Cymbidiums will go outside. That changes the grow room yet again, because it frees up some shelves for a start, which means I can store things on those shelves that aren't necessarily in use, and it gets rid of these two tables here. That leaves space. We might do something different, but I'm not going to say till I think it through. So yes, so we have some more rearranging to do, and then we got to day three and I thought I'm going to try and move the plants around and get them roughly where I want them. Now that worked quite well, I was quite pleased with that, and the plants are roughly where I want them. There will be an odd plant now and again that I'll want to move, and to move it somewhere something else might have to move, so there'll still be a little bit of shuffling around to do, but not too much. I'm relatively happy that most things are in the place they need to be. And I've even set up a rack hanging up near the roof for my few mounts that I've got. Several of which I think are dead, but you know, they can go up there until I decide to throw them out. So that was that. And then I was doing some things in the garden, and a friend of mine, well, the conversation first of all started about the I bought a new plant at the Orchid Society meeting last Saturday, not yesterday, a week ago, and a friend of mine bought one as well, and she took hers out of the pot in the middle of the week and said, you need to have a look at your plant. I took mine out of the pot. It's got no roots and a mass of soggy wet moss in the pot. So yeah, so we did that. We had a look, and yes, I had exactly the same as she did. So that was unexpected given who I actually got that from. I'd have thought that would have been in better nick, but no. I suspect those plants were got from somewhere else so that the guy had something to sell at the meeting because he was doing the talk. Yeah. Unlikely to be his own plants that he'd had for some considerable time. That's not his way. He'd have got them from somewhere else, and probably hadn't taken one out of the pot. Benefit of the doubt, known the guy years. So that's that. So we've rearranged the grow room, and we've had a boiler saga, and as a consequence of the chat about the orchid, I said about the large ferns in the garden that didn't make it, that they didn't take last year. They came from Carol. I think they were royal ferns. But nonetheless, my friend said, I've got some big ferns you can have if you want. Sent me some pictures. And also London Pride, you can look that up. Obviously it's got a Latin name, which that's not. That's its common name, so to speak. And I've got stacks of this, she said. And I said, well, I'd be willing to travel to get some more plants to fill in some gaps. And so I'm going there tomorrow to pick up some large ferns, some London Pride, and anything else that looks like it's overcrowded. I've warned her, you know, hide the bits of the garden you don't want big holes in, because I shall come home with as much as I can get hold of. Within reason, obviously. It's still got to fit in with where it's going to go here. So that'll be for next week. And again, next week's got items on the list that I wouldn't normally have. There's 2 bonsai to repot. They're both beech. One's a copper beech, one's a just standard European beech. They both need repotting. The others 2 or 3 that were on the list to repot have missed their window, so I can't do them. So those are my only 2 bonsai repots. That'll be a video. I'll probably do them both in one. If I've got to get all the stuff out to do one, I just want to do them both, haven't I? So that will be on the cards for this week. And we will have a massive planting video, because one day this week coming, won't be Monday because obviously I'm travelling to get some plants. That gets some more plants back here that need to go in the ground. So the planted border has got a piece of wisteria, great big piece sticking out like that, that basically is in the way. That bit of ground that it goes over, if it was gone, plants can go there, tall plants near the back, hide a bit of the fence. So we've got to take that bit of wisteria out, and then before we start planting stuff, we've got to get rid of the weeds. I think the Neela will come out and come into its own. I got told off for not using that last time, but it wasn't practical. Quite a bit of what I've got to do this time. The Neela will be absolutely brilliant, so thanks Gail for setting that up for me. But yeah, one day might be getting rid of the wisteria and doing the weeding, as that's all bending, okay, on the Neela, but it's bending. And then another day getting everything in the ground that's not. So that will be going on the Gardening Channel. So that's that. And back to this week. As a consequence of everything that's being done, nothing got watered properly until this morning. And this morning I properly watered the Phalaenopsis in the kitchen and the Cymbidiums, because they get a higher feed level than anything else. So I usually use the same mix for both of those. Go away. So they got watered properly, and everything else got watered with the sprayer. And I used the CalMag today for the first time this year. Might even be the last time, who knows, but I used the CalMag today. With a little bit of seaweed, and just went round with the sprayer, and some things had a fair bit of water put in the top of the pot, because I know those pots would be dry, and others just had a touch around the top, because without checking them they might have still been quite wet, so they didn't get much at all. And that was the best I could do today, because I had computer work to do, some Orchid Society stuff to do, and this day just seemed to disappear. And I know whose fault that is. That's BBC Two's fault, because basically the snooker world championship's on at the moment. It started and they started it at 10 o'clock this morning, so I got sidetracked. I started watching the snooker, and the day just seemed to disappear with the other things I had to do. When it got round to thinking about, I suppose I'd better do my Sunday chat, it's well into the afternoon, heading towards tea time. So it had gone way past coffee o'clock and got to wine o'clock. Being a Sunday, I start my wine a little bit earlier and then have some more with my meal when I sit down. I always have a nice meal on Sunday. It's what I call a pretend roast, because a roast traditionally would be like roast beef, roast pork, roast lamb, roast chicken. Well, I have some pork chops as my meat. So it is pork, but it's not roasted, they'll be pan fried. But I still have roast potatoes, honey glazed parsnips, some nice carrots, some peas, and some nice chicken gravy to go, a lighter gravy with the pork rather than beef gravy, be a bit overpowering. So I have a nice meal on Sunday and sit down with a glass of wine and then settle down for the evening. And this evening it will be watching the snooker, as it will be for most of the week, I expect, when I can. There's a few players I don't particularly like to watch. I don't like the way they play. And others I really try and watch if they're on. So, you know, I'll be picking and choosing. But that's a nice little thing to be going on in the quiet bits where I would normally fall asleep in the chair, which I might do anyway. We have repotting to do. I'm getting behind. We're well into April now. It'll be May soon if I'm not careful. And I've still got what I call red list repots that need doing this year now. I wouldn't repot in the middle of the growing season. That's not a sensible thing to do, which means leaving some things till autumn to just change them over as they slow down so they can settle down with the roots they've got, and then when they come into growth the following year they go into the new media then. I don't like doing that. So we need to crack on with some repotting. And try and catch up a bit. The only way I'm going to do that any sense is to not film it all. So I'll have to be selective as to what I actually film. I can repot half a dozen plants in a very short space of time, providing they're all going to go into the same media. That takes me no time at all if I'm not filming. It's really like a conveyor belt, you know. That one, out the pot, clean up, out the way, next one. Yeah, I can do it almost as fast as I say it. So we need to crack on and get some repotting done. We will film some of it. And so a different week. Completely rearranging the grow room. I mean, that hasn't happened since I moved in, really. This is the first major change. And this is a change for the plants, not for me, because it's actually inconvenienced me. I'm now poked up in the dark corner looking at a brick wall when I'm working on my bench. That might change. It's for the plants. The shelving is now in such a place where the plants get, as near as I can, the light they need. Yeah? And that's why I say some things might have to move now and again. Until I get rid of the Cymbidiums, I can't see everything that I've got until the time the Cymbidiums come in. So between when they go out and when they have to come back in again, that's what I call my main growing season. And all the plants, you know, I'll have the shelving that I need and get everything sorted out. I've also made up my mind, in amongst my rescues are plants that I don't believe are going to grow. I believe they're dead. They've had long enough. There's one that the plant's died that's got 2 kikis on it with roots. So they'll come off and get potted up separately and then the plant can go. But I reckon there's 3, maybe 4 plants over there that just need throwing out. Mostly dendrobiums, of course. They're just not doing as well in this place as they used to. So be it. And as a consequence, you know, we will be getting some other things. I need to stay clear of the warm growing Oncidium types because they'll be struggling in the winter, which means they'll just stop growing and they might shut their roots down. So they're not ideal anymore. Cool growing dendrobiums are okay, but most of the ones that are over there that aren't going to make it are, you know, intermediate. So be it. Cotylogenes are okay, so we've got a few more of those in as time's gone on. The odontoglossum type should be doing well here, so I don't mind bringing some of those in. And the things that I've lost because they weren't in a good state were the Miltoniopsis. And Miltoniopsis should be fine in here now. Yeah, I've got the cooler temperatures. I've taken away the, the blasting fan that used to be on all the time that they're not so keen on. A bit of gentle air movement, yeah, but not blasted with a fan, they dehydrate. So I will be keeping my eye out for some more Miltoniopsis, and I will do my utmost that if I come across any that I like, when nobody's looking, they will get upended to have a look and see if they've got roots before I bring them home. They don't recover very easily, or they haven't for me in the past, but I'd like to get some more Miltoniopsis. I love the blooms, a lot of them are fragrant, they're nice, so we might try and get some more of those. And also, Draculas. I lost the one I had, Bella, that ran the other place, that kept throwing out spikes and they just aborted. It was just too warm for it. But round here, again, I've got those cooler temperatures. I've got some shady places, I should be able to accommodate them. And most of my Masdevallias are growing okay now. And those go alongside. If one does okay, the other one normally does as well. So the trouble is, when you come across them, they're normally very expensive. So we'll see what we can do. I might be able to get a few off of Sarah out of the private area. Or like when Lynn separates some or divides some up. I don't mind buying plants off friends. I don't expect to be given plants all the time. I'm quite happy to buy plants off of friends if they split up a large one and they end up with 4 or something. I'm quite happy to buy a division. Knowing where it's come from is half the battle, really. So, we will try and expand the collection to a degree, but we won't be going mad. I've got the number of orchids. It's dropped from 180 to 130. And I'm happy with the 130. Now obviously if I get rid of those rescues over there, that's 125, just like that. Look at the fingers, job done. Which leaves 5 spaces for some new ones. Or maybe 15 for some new ones, but I'm not going mad. So that's that. While I was watering the Cymbidiums this morning, I am very pleased with my Cymbidiums, very pleased. If I don't do this, we're not going to be looking at, do you know, I've been stood there holding it and I haven't even tried it. That's quite nice. It's a new type that I thought I'd try. I'll get one out. Yeah, it would be the lowest one, but and there's some water in the tray. That's going to go in there. Yay. What we're looking at is a pretty good plant. There's not a damaged leaf in sight. The only problem I have got, there is one new growth that's got some marks on the tips, and that's where it touched the glass some time ago. I know this is going to drip, but so be it. It's just the number of new growths coming up. Good strong new growths coming out, in many places. Another nice one here pushing on, a bit farther than that one. And another nice one here. Yeah? Here. It's just the number of the nice one here. The number of new growths. The number of new growths on here means this plant will be half as big again. And on this plant, there are no leafless bulbs. Every single bulb here has still got leaves. And the leaves are still in good nick. Now that might not be true by the end of the season when they've been outside in the gales and the rain and the hail and everything, but at the moment that is a good plant. It's a good plant. And the others are of a similar vein. I don't know whether I've got a pot full of roots, but if I haven't now, I'm sure I will have very soon. All of the Cymbidiums were repotted last year, so they don't need disturbing this year. They didn't get fed properly. because they were outside. So they were outside in at least one heat wave, if not two, I can't remember. But consequently, I was putting the hose on them every day. Well, first of all, that's tap water, which is not ideal, and also it's got no feed in it. And the feed that they got was some slow release granules that I got for my bonsai trees. It's just an even low level feed, 555. And that's all they got. They didn't get any proper nitrogen boost or anything like that. So I'm surprised they did as well as they did. They came in, they've gone through the winter, most have bloomed. Yeah, I'm pretty pleased. We've got the one that potentially has a virus. We should be finding that out in the next 3 to 4 weeks, I would say. The new growth is about that big. Well, obviously that's a pointy thing at the moment, but in the not too distant future, the leaves will start to form. If those leaves are clean, bearing in mind it's getting some proper orchid feed now, at a reasonable strength for the plant, then it was just stress, as a Cymbidium grower that I know well actually implied. He said, you know, the plant's been mucked about too much in one go, repotting, change of environment, chucking outside, tap water with the hose, you know. And the other thing that's wrong with tap water, if you get a relatively warm spell, most people would go around and water quite early in the day in the summertime. That tap water is freezing cold compared with the environment and the temperature of the media. Not ideal. So yeah, they didn't get treated as well as they could have been last year, and yet they still did okay. So by treating them much better this year, I'm hoping to build up their strength so that the next time we're looking at new growth there'll be even more, perhaps 2 per bulb instead of 1 in places, and in addition to that, better spikes, more blooms with better colours. And again, once the strength is in the plants, the possibility of 2 spikes per bulb comes up. So we'll be working on those. If I'm going to have them and they're going to take up this space, then let's do the best I can with them. You know, they are relatively new to me, apart from, you know, the Hannah's one that's the possible virus one. You have to bear in mind, if it has got a virus, chances are it's always had it, and it came with it, and it's been with it ever since I've had the plant. Yeah, and it showed itself because of the amount of changes and stress that the plant was put under. Or it could just be that stress and the changes that the plant was put under, and it's not a virus at all. But we won't know until the new growth opens its new leaves, and they're either all spotty and patchy like the ones I've got, in which case we'll have to write the plant off, or they're pretty clean, much cleaner than the ones I've got, better still, completely clean. If they're completely clean, nice green shiny leaves, then at the first opportunity I will cut the back end of the plant off and dump it, leaving the bit at the front that seems to be growing okay. And if that then means it doesn't flower for a couple of years, so be it. But we remove the possibilities. So that's that. There's not much else at the moment. We've got no new blooms that you haven't seen before. We have a better look at the Cattleya now. I keep putting this down without drinking any. I'll just have a quick look at a couple. What's the date now? No, we're nowhere near. This is the sort of thing I make a mistake sometimes. On a Sunday we have a look at some blooms, then Monday it's the 8th and I could film them all again. But we're quite a long way from the 8th, so we won't worry about that. We've got this one. This is looking nice. Lovely deep colour on this. This is the, well, what it says on the label is what it isn't, and I can't remember what it is because it's actually got a proper name. It was something like Midnight Star or something, because it is actually registered. But nice deep colour, nice shaped blooms, and a good spike. and a plant that's grown on well from what was obviously quite a small division, small pseudo bulbs getting bigger, to the one that I grew, which is the big thing like that and capable of producing the spike. So that was looking good. And then it's what I will call its twin sister, because they are almost identical. And this is Black Comet. And it's a Guerechia. And the blooms are very, very similar. They're not identical, they're very similar. This is a much smaller plant. Again, it's been grown on, so not necessarily a division. Little pseudo bulbs getting bigger and bigger, to this one, which I thought was going to bloom and it didn't. And then the one that I've grown big enough to bloom. That's its first time blooming as well. So that's coming on, that's doing well. Those two are very, very similar as far as the blooms are concerned, and they both come out at the same time, which is a nuisance. If they were a month apart it would be better, because they're almost identical, so I'd have an extended period. And the other one is the Cattleya. This wasn't open when I filmed it. The blooms were still quite cup-shaped, whereas now they're opening up quite nicely. It's a lovely deep colour. This is not the best spike it's ever had, I must admit, but it's okay. Whether these last two buds are going to open, I don't think they are going to open. I mean, this had serious problems with roots. It's only just really recovered. But under normal circumstances, a Cattleya will open its buds from the first one up the spike to the last one at the tip of the spike. And these two buds are the first two and they're not open, so they may never open. So be it. As I said, the plant's been struggling a bit, but the latest growth was a reasonable one. It's got some roots and it's managed to bloom. That's the one with the 8-foot long name. Siang Yu Red Pearl Red Dragonfly. I wonder what colour that one is then. If you'd seen that in a catalogue, I wonder what colour that is then. Somebody asked how my Vanda was doing. Well, as that's relatively easily accessible now, we will have a quick look, because this has changed its setup several times. Since it came down here, it has actually put out an aerial root, which is a nuisance because that's useless. But down in the pot, there is root activity as well. So getting a bit more moisture around it has done it the world of good. And the most important bit is that looks like a new root. That will go into the media because that's nice and low down. Yeah, so it's doing okay. It's lost a few leaves at the base, but there's still plenty left. That did bloom last year, didn't bloom the year before. But the bloom last year was awful. The blooms were half the size they should have been, and there was only a couple. So we'll see what it does this year. But this leaf is relatively new, and it's growing another new one at the top. Somebody asked me if I could do a care video for a Vanda. I'll do a care sentence. Brightest light you can give it without burning the leaves. Relatively high levels of feed and good moisture. Don't let the roots stay dry for any length of time. There you go. Oh, comma, and they like heat. They do not like to be cold. So this is never going to do as well as it could here, because it will slow down to next to nothing in the winter because of the low temperatures. If I could keep winter temperatures at 22, 23 with daytime temps of 28, 29, this would probably be 4 foot long now. But I can't, so it isn't. So that's that. That's all. That's all. That's all, folks. Yes, so all the thank yous on the Sunday video as always. So thanks the big thank you is thanks for supporting the channel. How you do it's up to you. I mean, a particular video appealed to somebody during the week, so they bought 5 coffees to say thank you. The Buy Me a Coffee is there for that reason. It's a tip. I've done something or shown something that was useful to an individual, and to say thank you, buy me a coffee. It's the sort of thing you do, you know, if sort of a friend helped you out moving some stuff, you know, you buy them a coffee. Well, that's what the Buy Me a Coffee function is for. It's to leave a tip. So thank you for that. That was D, I believe. You even get a name check. I don't have them often. It's normally because I don't remember. If you think how many names are in my list of comments, I can't remember everybody. It's not possible. But that particular individual has been following this channel for a long time. It's a name I almost expect to see under every video. There are some people that are in that category. They leave a comment on most videos, so they're regulars, as I call them. Some people watch the videos and never leave a comment. If that's how, I don't mind. The comments are useful though, because YouTube sees the video as being interactive if there's comments. Yeah, so lots of comments with replies and then perhaps another comment. They see that as engaging with me as a creator, engaging with you as the viewers, and that's what YouTube likes to see, engagement and retention and all that sort of stuff. So thanks for the support, whether it be the membership, patrons, or the Buy Me a Coffee as a one-off now and again. It's all good stuff. But watching the videos with the ads, don't forget the ads are, I mean, YouTube's hitting down hard on people who use ad blockers. They know, not quite sure how, but they do. They've probably got another little app that runs in the background, you know, they've got a lot of those. But yes, when the ads are watched, then YouTube part with some of their money. So the creators get a reward because the advertiser has displayed their wares in front of you. Whether you buy them or not, that doesn't come into it, but to get them displayed in front of people, the advertisers are willing to pay, and then YouTube will part with some of that to the creators if those adverts are watched. Now, some adverts are quite long, you don't have to watch all of them. Apparently 30 seconds is the point at which YouTube says, yep, that's enough of that ad that's been watched for money to change hands. So that's the way it works basically. If the ad is shorter than 30 seconds, apparently you need to watch it all, otherwise it don't work. Anyway, that's that, and just thanks for the support, and thanks for anybody from this channel that went across to the Gardening and Bonsai channel and is supporting that one as well. That one is growing. Yeah, the actual, because that's a monetized channel as well, the actual monthly return on that has trebled recently. Still not much, but every little helps, every little helps. So 2 channels on the go now. Obviously this is a priority channel, always will be. And the other one ticks along in the background. It's got some people who like the bonsai stuff, who are not interested in the gardening stuff. There's people who like the gardening stuff, not interested in bonsai. And there's people over there that are interested in both. I would probably say those would be called plants people. And they probably enjoy the Orchid Channel as well. It's all plants, isn't it? It's all growing. It's that sort of thing. So anyway, that'll do for today, because the time hopefully is getting very close to my meal time now, because I look forward to my Sunday meal a lot. It is the sort of special one. I have a nice meal Saturday as well, unless I've got an Orchid Society meeting, in which case I get back too late to mess about with that sort of thing. But yeah, I always have a nice meal on Sunday. It's just something I've always done, so you know, and I like to stick to some things, some sort of tradition. So a nice roast type dinner along those lines. Not always, but most times, and glass of wine and prepare it and sit down and enjoy it. And that's my Sunday meal. And I have my main meal tea time. Late afternoon, basically. I would say early evening, but it's not that late. It's normally about 5 o'clock that I have my main meal of the day. I have a light lunch and I just have toast and marmalade or something for breakfast. So I don't eat much during the day, so I have my main meal around 5 o'clock, and then it's gone down and settled by the time I go to bed and doesn't sit there churning, stopping me getting to sleep. That needs to be done. Right, what's coming up this week in the form of videos, I don't know. There will be some repotting, I must crack on with that. I don't think I'll be rearranging anything this week. I'll have to get the RO unit on, I'm getting low on water. And the fact that I went round with the sprayer, I'm out tomorrow. Probably Wednesday or Thursday I'm going to go round and do a proper water where each plant will get inspected. And either give them water because it's quite dry and the sprayer didn't do the job, or get missed out because it was probably too wet and I sprayed some more on top of it, in which case that will get given a bit of a rest to dry out, hopefully. And we're having a bit of a cold snap with the weather again. The jet stream's twisted round. We've got a nice high pressure out to the left of the country. Thank you very much. That goes clockwise, doesn't it? So where's the air coming from? Up north, straight down across the country. The west of the country, like Northern Ireland and the west coast of Wales, and that, they've got the warmest weather at the moment because they're just on the edge of the high pressure, so they're getting the warm weather. Everywhere else has just got a cold stream of air coming down. At least at the moment it's dry. And on that, I actually had to get the hose out and water this morning. Yeah, the bonsai and some of the plants needed some water, getting a bit dry. After all that rain we've had, tend to forget that, you know, sunshine dries things out, even if the temperature's not high. The sun will warm up things like bonsai pots. They can get quite warm in the sun, even if the air temperature's not warm. So yeah, we actually got the hose out this morning. So there we go, and I will see you in the week for things as yet undecided, and no particular order, but there'll be something, I'm sure. We'll sort something out, but definitely some repots. That's really what's on the go at the moment, is the repots. I know they can be a bit tedious, but what I try and do to make my repots a bit more interesting than just, you know, taking it out of the pot, giving it a shake, clean off the dead roots, put it in a pot. I try and talk about the plant as well, and why I'm doing stuff. You know, like why I'm taking this back end of this plant off, why I'm not taking it off of this one, why I'm cutting the spike off when I repot, why didn't I wait till after blooming. All those sort of things, I try and get some information in there as well as just the physical action. So we will be doing some of that this week, definitely. And now I'm going to call it a day. A day, there you go. And I'll see you next time. Thanks for dropping by.